Is this really going to happen? You know, should I come back? What are you thinking? What can you do? You know, what should we do? And she said, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to be very, very interesting. I also found the reaction from Europe very, very interesting. Being in Europe at the time, that Europe kind of closed ranks and said, we're going to take care of our own and we're going to make sure that our economy is strong. And that countries, we see the Irish banks, then we see Australia and New Zealand started offering bank deposit guarantees. I know Asia followed afterwards. I think actually Hong Kong, where I also manage an office and do a lot of business, has like a lifetime guarantee. And all we would do, we went from what, the US 100 to 250,000. And here are these countries offering lifetime guarantee, which in my business, I bank foreign nationals coming into the US to work, study, or live, or they want to invest. But what it really meant is that other countries were getting their foreign nationals to keep their money in their countries. Forget about the US, it's no longer a place to come to. So then, next slide. So now we look at where we are today, March 2010. Many financial institutions have repaid TARP, the government's money. However, we're still at a standstill with lending, you know, businesses and consumers. What I find interesting and sad really is that so many companies no longer exist. I mean, I was going to create a very long list and I was like, that's so scary and depressing. I'll just stop at Lehman and Bear Stearns because we know about that. Unemployment, you know, I have a friend of mine and he goes, oh, Obama promised that, you know, unemployment would never go below 10%. I was like, well, if he said that, he was lying. I don't know how any president or candidate can say that, you know, unemployment will not go above 10% or any percentage, but we know that it's high. In California, it's approximately 12%. And then some countries are starting to experience the lost decade, which is, you know, a long stretch of unemployment, especially for young people. And I think that that's important because what's going to happen in the future? I think that's important, and I think the destruction of some of the companies that we've seen really, really strong. I mean, most of us in most of our neighborhoods can say, wait a minute, that store was there last week. What happened? Because it's usually all about cash. It's about credit and it's about cash flow. So I think it's interesting to see what the next generation is going to do. I mean, a lot of these kids, their parents have lost their jobs. I don't think they're exactly going to be running to corporate America. You know, so I think we will see a lot of innovation and growth. The middle class, massive job losses, homelessness, soup kitchens, and rapidly eroding. Next slide, please. We see that the rest of the world is barely holding on. I put that about Dubai because that's where I was in December. See, it does follow me, I think. I was there in December, you know, trying to get a tan, and then I see, oh my God, you know, Dubai needs a bailout from Abu Dhabi, and who knows what's going to happen with Greece. I don't know, it's really kind of sad. I really love Greece, and on the way here I was reading another article about, you know, same kind of thing. Europe is kind of closing ranks, and they're like, you know, unless Greece stops its spending and stops this and that, we're not going to help them either. So I thought it was important that we also put in some good news, because there is good news in the BRIC countries. Ladies, we know the BRIC countries are Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and sometimes there's a K, which is Korea, because Korea is starting to bounce back. I think this is the most important, and this is actually something that I kind of predicted while I was in London, and I said that, you know, I think this is what is going to happen. About frugal and debt-free are the new buzzwords. Is Diana still in here? We were talking about that earlier, how most of us have purged our clothes and pared down our lifestyles, and we don't spend as much money, and we're just living simpler lives, and maybe taking on the Chinese lifestyle, which is save, save, save. But of course now everyone's saying they save too much, which, I don't know, I found that a bit strange. But I also have a background in economics, so I guess I kind of understand it a little bit. And, you know, there was a time when I couldn't go to a dinner party during 2008, 2009. People found out I was a banker, and they were asking me for financial advice. Like, should I put it on the mattress? Should I go to this new CD? What should I do? What should I put my money in? You know, what should I really do? What I also found interesting about this whole thing is relatively intelligent, educated people did not understand the financial crisis and what happened, and were asking me what happened. It's a little bit, I won't say it's you know, I think the simple reason is spending too much, having too much debt. But if you go to Vanity Fair, Neil Ferguson. He's what is he? Economics business professor. I can send everyone the article. I sent it around. He spells his name, I think, Niall. It's a great article, very simplified about exactly what happened. And I think it's something that everyone should read, and I sent it to everyone.
Can we repeat that again?
It's Neil Ferguson, but spelled Niall.
That's the Gallic spelling.
Oh, yeah, and it was in Vanity Fair. I think it might have been, I'll find it, I think it might be October, I'll find it and send it to people. But when I did send it around, everybody was like, oh, I get it. So, people now have a flight to safety versus a flight to quality. I heard that at Wells Fargo in October of 2008, while I was on sabbatical, they had to keep the branches open to midnight because people felt Wells Fargo was really a flight to safety and a place to go, while the other banks in San Francisco were falling around and they couldn't get deposits quick enough. Which is why, of course, rates are so low because we have too much cash and we're so liquid. And these are a lot of the banks now, but Wells Fargo is definitely, our finance guys, like, you know, we're very, very liquid. So, okay, the next slide. So we really want to talk about, so I really, again, want this to be informal, but I want it to kind of be a primer. So I've broken it down to start with international assignee versus solo expat. I've never been lucky enough to have a company say I'll send you overseas. I always pack my little bags and go on my own. And I always travel on my own. I've been traveling on my own since I was 21, so that's like 23 years. I'm going to be 45. So
last year.
Yeah. So I always travel on my own. I always do everything on my own. But again, I happened to be in Europe at a conference in December of '08. A global HR conference, which we go to all the time, we sponsor and we speak at because we have a huge international assignee program, and companies were just not paying for school fees. Too bad to the American school. We're not paying for this, we're not paying for that. I think the American school in London was impacted with Lehman, I think 13 families. So imagine coming home, honey, not only do I not have a job, I don't have a company that exists anymore. And we have to leave in 30 days if you don't have a job. So I was kind of like, wow, I'm glad I have my own, you know, I'm glad I have my own permit. Maybe you know, I belong to myself and I'm not beholden to any company. But I think, you know, again, I've been doing this a while, and periodically what I like to do for fun is I like to pick up the phone at the office. We have an 800 number, so I can listen to when people call me. When they call the office, they go, well, my company said, and I would do, okay. You're going overseas, how are you getting paid? Oh, I don't know. Okay, you're getting paid in multi-currency, split payroll. Okay, so now what, you know, what home country U.S. obligations do you have? What host country obligations do you, oh, I don't know. Okay, you don't know. You don't know how you're getting paid, but you signed on the dotted line to take a 2-year assignment. Okay. Okay, your company is providing all these, you know, service providers for your moving, schooling. I mean, I've been in the relocation industry periphery for, you know, 10 years, speak at ERC, have written for ERC. All the global relocation companies, they come to us for their international assignees. We are a provider to them. So I said, well, what has your company told you about finances? Oh, the banks are the same everywhere. Really? Oh, yeah. So then, you know, I get a call from the wife in some foreign country who can't cash her check and nobody told her and she doesn't know what to do. And then I'll get a call from the HR person who didn't think that banking was that important and thought that global banks are the same, and then I'll get a call from the treasurer that wants to know why these foreign